Good morning. We're holding Parshas Vayetze of Chaf Aleph. So we started on Monday, brought down the pasuk ושבתי בשלום of Beis Avi, that Yaakov says that if I'm going to return to my father's house, v'haya Hashem li le'elokim, and Hashem will be with me. So this stone that became from many stones to one stone, that stone will be a Beis Elikim, will be a matzeva, will be a monument, and this monument will be a Beis Elikim. So the Rebbe has two questions. Question number one is, why is it totally zeh? Why is it dependent one on another? That if I'm going to return to Yitzchak's house and Hashem Havaya will be Elikim, then the stone that I made will be a matzeva, and this matzeva will be for a Beis Elikim. Why is it totally zeh? And number two, why does it say Va'evan hazeh is lashon nekeva and Yi is lashon zocher? So the Alter Rebbe said to understand all of this, we first have to let's understand the beginning of the parsha that says that Yaakov came to Vayifka b'Amokim Mahu. He came to that place and he took from the many stones under his head, and as Rashi says, a miracle happened, and all those stones became one stone. So he explained that Vayetze Yaakov is Meloshin Yud Okiv, which Yud refers to the Chochmei Ilah. Okiv is the heels. So Yaakov's Avoda is he takes the level of Chochmei Ilah and he brings it into Okiv. In this specific example, Vayetze Yaakov Be'er Shava, Yaakov went from the level of Be'er Shava. Be'er Shava refers to the 7 midas of Atzilus, and he took the 7 midas of Atzilus and he brought it to Charan. He brought it to the lowest levels of Charan. And he says that's also the idea. He explained that Tzavi Yeshuas Yaakov, that Yeshuas is Meloshin either Shin Ayin Nahir Nilo, which is this is the 370 high powers, and he brings it down. He's to Yaakov, or he says as Meloshin Shah that he turns. In other words, that Yaakov's Avedis he's bringing down. And the issue with all these tzimtzumim of Seili Shtalshalos is that since there could be so many contractions and concealments and darkness, it's possible to have Meloshin Alter Rebbe Alma de Pruda, which means a world which is separated. Yaakov's Aveda is that he makes sure that in this world, even though it looks ostensibly like a Alma de Pruda, his Aveda is that he makes that there's a yichud and a bittul into this world. And then he explained that that's the idea of taking the stones. The stones refer to all the levels, the highest levels of the worlds and the higher worlds. And he takes that and he makes it into one stone. In other words, he takes it and brings it to the Yud, which is the Chochmei Ilah. That's what we explained Bekitzer. And then we started getting into that. That's what it means. He made a matzeva. Matzeva is like a monument. In other words, he took the Chochmei Ilah, and he brought it into the matzeva. He brought it into the level of Hamshacha, and that's where he poured oil on top of it, because oil refers to Shem Mishchas Kodesh, refers to the level of Chochmei Ilah. And what did he do? He brought the oil. In other words, he took the Chochmei Ilah and he brought it Hamshacha. He brought it to Torah and Mitzvahs. That's what we explained yesterday, Monday. Okay, we're holding Daf Chaf Aleph. It's the line starts with Pchinas Chochmei Ilah. It's more towards the bottom in the third to last word on the line. Kamayim Razal, like the Gemara says, Ma lahalan, just like by Matan Torah. Be'ema b'yira, the Yidden they received the Torah. With fear and trepidation, Afkan, so too, Be'ema b'yira, so too Torah has to be learned with fear and trepidation. So the Alter Rebbe teaches up Pirush Ma lahalan b'shas Matan Torah al Har Sinai shebe'em b'yira shazoi b'chinas gila b'tachlis sheshom pi atzmus hamatza necha shem nekecha, just in the times of Matan Torah, that the Yidden experienced the revelation from the essence of Hashem, from the emanator himself. Afkan, so too, Hainu. The way that Torah isn't clothed in physical examples, that there should be the level of Chachmi Ilah the way it was like by Man Torah. So in order to have this revelation, so in order to have this revelation, basically this whole Vayetzi Yakim Be'ershava, the way the Alter Rebbe puts it, there's a spiritual descent going on. There's a spiritual revelation going on. Yaakov's taking the levels of Chachmi Ilah, he's bringing down to this world, that even when a person learns Torah, like he gave the example of Hamachlif Parah B'Chamor, he's learning physical examples in the Gemara and Halacha, he should still have the revelation of the Gila of the Chachmi Ilah. Now, and that's all done through Yaakov. It's very interesting. Last week's parsha we learned Yitzchak and Rivka. It's all in Avoda. Yitzchak is the level of Asad love, the level of Pachad Yitzchak Gilei. You need to have Rivka. Rivka is the one who brings it down. So too over here, Yaakov's Avoda. That's why, if you just thought about it now, Yaakov and Rivka, they saw eye to eye. Both the same Avoda. Their Avoda is bringing down Tachlis, making sure that there's Giluyim, Apiruchnis. Esav and Yitzchak connected. They saw eye to eye. So he says that in order to have this revelation, Yaakov first needed to bring the level of Seif Kalam. So the end is wedged with the beginning. So through that, the beginning is wedged with the end. In other words, that the highest levels can actually come revealed into this world. Okay, so now we're holding the last paragraph on the line, Vizel, 3 lines from the bottom. ושבתי בשלום אבי, and this is what Yaakov means, that if I'm going to return to my father's house in peace, and Havaya will be le'elikim. Havaya will be for Hashem. What does that mean? That this is through experiencing, first of all, the flow of mata l'mayla downwards, up there, umil mayla l'mata, and from down there up here. There's 2 avodas. This is the level of Vayasam Menashesav, that he placed the stones under his head. So placing the stones under his head, that refers to the avoda of mimata l'mayla. The avoda starts with you. And then what did Yaakov do? Yaakov poured oil in it, canal, kihine. And then he says, ושבתי בשלום base avi. So he says, kihine avi koyal Yitzchak. The father is going on, what does he refer to? He refers to Yitzchak. Like it says, ki ata avinu, that you are our father. Shall also love him when Mashiach comes. You're going to say dafka on Yitzchak, ki ata avinu, you are our father. So ki ata avinu, avi refers to Yitzchak. Yitzchak, his name comes from Lashon tzchayk v'tainu, laughter and pleasure. As it says, tzchayk asali, that he made a laughter. Sarah said he made a laughter for me. Kol hashemea, whoever hears, what happens? Yitzchak will laugh for me, will be happy for me. So Yitzchak is the idea of laughter, the idea of tainu. Lashon asid, as well, it's a terminology of what will happen. In other words, because it doesn't say tzchak. Yitzchak is in the future. She's gal lebchinas hatainaga elyon, at the level of tainaga elyon. Shelamaylo, that this means that ki'ato avinu, the level of Yitzchak, will be megala. In other words, the level of tainaga elyon will be revealed. How does a person reveal the level of tainaga elyon? First refining the sparks down over here. By first the level of iskafia, by holding back, and transforming from darkness to light. Through this comes the flows and the different levels. So what Alter Rebbe is explaining is that in order to have this revelation of Vayetzi Yakim Be'ershava V'yela Charana, to have the level of Chachmei Ilah into the level of Matzeva, all these revelations, how do you get that?
That's dafka through Yitzchak. It's dafka through Ki Ata Avinu. When will this revelation be? When will we see this revelation? That will be dafka when Mashiach comes. This level of Tainig Galia. And he says, just like when a person has pleasure and laughter, the way a person gets pleasure is, or Tainug, is when there's novelty. It's something which is new, something which is not the norm. Gives an example. You have a talking parrot. The nature, the way Hashem made birds, they don't speak. So what happens? Hashem gave the ability for parrots to repeat, to speak. A person who speaks, a person who speaks, you don't get pleasure from when a person speaks. Why? If you should darken between this the daber, because it's always constant that people speak. It's called in Chassidus Tainug Tmidi. So just like by Tainug, by a physical example, a person gets pleasure when there's a novelty, when it's not always every day the same thing. When you see something new, like the example of a parrot. So too l'mayla. In order to have the level of tainug, pleasure, you have to be involved in something which is a novelty. So Yaakov, we said, is Yud Okev. But Yaakov is the level of Yud Okev. He brings the level of Chachmei love down into this world through Seder Ishtalshalos. Even in the level of the heels, that these are worlds which are separated and also delimited. Like it says, what happened over here? So this is what that Yaakov brought down the level. Through tzimtzumim, through different contractions and darknesses and concealments, he brought down the level of Be'er Shava into the level of the Alma de Pruda of Charan, Shenikra Charan, which is called Charan. Now, what does Charan mean? Nichar Greini. Nichar means, like Rashi says over there, Nichar means dry. The Nichar Greini, that he brought it down into the level of Charan. Charan comes from the lashon of a dried throat. Like it's dry over there. There's no chayas, there's no vitality, there's no life, there's no love for anything. It's a very, very dead and morose place. What does that mean? At the level of godliness, which is enclosed over there, which is the called level of throat, shu kol kaneda, which we know the voice comes from the throat, mechuso muster. Concealed the gamri achim alma the prudim mecheshach the gamri. So just like a throat, like more or less, it brings down the chassidus that the way for chachma Chabad to get to chagas, from the way for chachma to get to midas, so that is all through the gorim. That's all through the throat. So in above over there, in order for the chayis to come down from the level of Be'er Shava, in order to come to Charan, it has to come to the level through the level of Garin, through throat. And that's Garin is, we said, it's like it brings a concealment. So what happens? That the chayis comes through the throat, and through that, it's possible that there's an alma de pruda. It's possible that there's separation. Like he says, I'm like silent from astonished with silence. The purpose is at the level of Hashem, the light of Hashem should go down and be invested in the separated worlds. In order to have through Iskafia and Isapach Hashech L'Nehira, in order to transform the bad emotions that a person has, that he has the teva to be angry or the teva to be involved in shlusim. So
hadas lahafchem shirak lavai levadi, in order to transform that it should be only for Hashem. So what does he have to do? His avodah is to take the Alma de Pruda, to take the midas reis that a person was born with, the emotions. A person was born with bad anger, with a person was born with stinginess, a person was born with laziness. So what's the teva? The teva is that he has to transform that. And this this level is called. So this is the level of tshuva, shubchila yater, with the great working. These bad midas that are burning like fire. Canal is to bring them back to Hashem. And this is what it means that Baalei Tshuva, where they are, even tzaddikim gemurim can't get there. So we explained that in order to cause the revelation, you need to make a chiddush, just like we gave the example of tzipar medaberes. So in order to actually cause a tiny elyon by the Eibishter, you have to make a chiddush. What's the chiddush that you're doing? You're taking the level of yud, chochmeilah, seder shtalshus, and through the tzimtzumim, there's the level of akev, alma de pruda. And what are you doing there? You're taking the low levels. You're taking the levels that look B'chitzeni is separated from Hashem, and you're transforming that. Right after the parentheses, there's a nasa tainuk gadol l'maylo. Through this, you cause a great tainuk. This is the level of transforming darkness to light. So this is what it means. That 1 hour of tshuva ma'asim tevim in this world is better than the kol chaylim haba. Through dafke tshuva nasa tainuk l'maylo kol kach. So what are you doing? By a person actually making a chiddush like the tzipar hamidaberes, he's by transforming and bringing down the level of be'er shava into Charan. What happens? You take Charan, which means wrath, anger, and you cause rina. You bring, what's rina? Song, joy. Like we know by Chometz Umatzah, the famous thing that Chassidus always says, Shema'ois haches shel chometz, that from the letter ches of chometz, nase hey, you make the hey. What's the difference between chometz and matzah in spelling? It's just the hey and the ches. So what's the avodah? The avodah of chometz is to take the ches and make it a hey. Like it says in the Zohar over there, what do you do with this ches? You make the level of an asip ches matzah. So what are you doing from Charan? You're taking the ches and you're making it now into the hay. Nasarina. So the avodah is to take the level of Charan and make it into rina. This level of pleasure will be revealed when Mashiach comes, which we know that's when the impurity will be removed from the world. There will not be any more darkness or any more refinements, not like we have nowadays. That avodah is with Yerida, with Aliyah from Yeridas, and like it says, that the avodah is going to be in a way of Tishbais. There's not going to be any more avodah of work. And you're going to reveal the level of Ar Hashem. And this Ar Hashem is going to be in a way of bittul. So the avodah, this revelation is going to be dafka when Mashiach comes. Now the avodah is ma'ayin liyesh. Mashiach comes, the avodah is going to be yesh la'ayin. And then the level of Einig Elyon is going to be revealed. Which is the level of Ein Seif Yom HaZayin. This is the level of Shabbos. Yom Shekuli Shabbos Menucha L'Chaylamim. Gila Einig Elyon Kaneda Shnasa Birurim Shalmato. That through the Birurim, B'Shita Alfin Shnin of the 6,000 years. Zel v'Shafti El Beis Avi. This is what it means. Yaakov said, "I'm going to return El Beis Avi Shulchinas Chazor V'Ashava Shulchinas Yaakov." That Yaakov Avinu, what's his avodah is that he's going to take the level of Charan and he's going to bring it to Lepchinas Rina. He's going to bring the level of Charan to Rina. Shinikra Beis Avi, which is called Beis Avi Shubchinas Yitzchak. Shubchinas Tzchoik V'Tainag Elyon, which we said this is the Tzchoik and the Tainag Elyon. Shilas Gal La'asu B'chinas Iskafi Yisapra. Very, very just to simplify it. Yaakov is saying to the Eibishter, "V'shafti b'shalom al Beis Avi." In Avoda, we said throughout the Maimer, Yaakov is taking the level of Be'ershava, he's bringing it to Charan. What does that mean? That he's taking even the Charan, the levels of Alma, the Pruda, and he's bringing the Chachmilah into it. And then what does he say? V'shafti b'shalom. If I return b'shalom, a Beis Avi, who's Beis Avi? Beis Avi is Yitzchak. That in order for this Avodah to actually be effective, it has to be v'shafti b'shalom al Beis Avi. It has to be brought down to Yitzchak. In other words, that the Yisgalus is going to be when Mashiach comes. How do you get this Yisgalus? Is by Achidush, is by making Tainag Elyon. How do you create by the Eibishter Tainag Elyon? It has to be something which is a novelty. What's the novelty? The novelty is that even in the level of Charan, you're able to transform that into the level of Rina. Okay, what time is it? Okay.
We're now 54.
Go fast. Finish the whole thing in 5 minutes.
Okay. This is what it means when we say that Yitzchak is Kiat Avinu. That the purpose of say the Yitzchak B'Tainag L'Maylo is to bring a laughter to Hashem. So v'shafti b'shalom. This level of pleasure, she's got lost to do dafke the B'chinas Alois from Shochas Shem B'chinas B'Birun L'Mata B'chinas Iskafi V'Sapach Chanal Shenikot B'chinas Shalom. So in order for to actually have this Aveda, you have to, like we said, through the level of Iskafi V'Sapcha, which that's called love. Why is that called love? What does peace? Sorry, not love. Peace. What does peace mean? Peace means that you're connecting two polar opposites. Like it says, we say every day in davening, Hashem makes peace up high. What does that mean? The Gemara says that Mechol, who's the minister of water, the Gabriel is the minister Sar Shal Eish. So what does he do? Hashem takes two polar opposites, fire and water, and he brings them together. It says shalom twice for the person who's close and the person who is far behind him. This is the level of shalom, the level of milmata l'mayla. In other words, so the first level of, in order to bring this revelation, you have to do it in a way of a shafti b'shalom. So he said that shalom, there's two levels. There's the level of mata l'mayla and ma'ila l'mata. Shalom l'mayla l'mata, and if it's so I'm shachas alikus l'mata if it's mitzvahs. So this is the level of the Yerid and Amshachas of coming down to Terry mitzvahs. So by day, Pchinas Shalom Hanal, based Pchinas Shalom Hanal, Shem Pchinas Iskaf, Meshachashech Laneder Shalayeh, Pchinas Alma de Pruda. Pchinas Yichadu Bituk Mashula Maila, by the Messiah Mamish was the Urshavel base of Shishkal Mila, Pchinas Enigal, Pchinas Ein Safe Mamish Maila, Bishtash, Enemies, Madrigas, Rabbis Maila Mata, Mata, Vacheshacher. So what's the Aveda? You have two Avedas. You have the Aveda of Shalom, Mata Lamaila, and you have the Aveda of Shalom, which would be Mamaila Lamaila. No Maila Lamata. Shaking the Gabat Musimos Barakotim Gadol Shavim Mamish. So this is all refers to the level of Arin Safe. When it comes to Atzmos, there's no difference between a Kot and a Gadol. Like darkness and light. For us, what's going to happen? Then through V'shafti B'Shalom, through the two Avodas of Shalom, then it'll be Zeichet too. We said that the sun and the sheath is a violakim. So it says, just like we know that the sheath covers over the sun. The level of Elikim, near Takla covers over Shemavaya, Master Love this Nevron Balig in front of Fnasma, shaking Shemavaya, Hamshokas and the Mata. And it calls up so this is all through the Sedish Dashlas. Also, when Mashiach comes, she's got when the levels, the higher levels, even the higher worlds of Shemavaya, V'Shem Lekim, and now, so when Mashiach comes, even the level of Havaya, which we experience now, will be like the level of Elikim. So then, through the level of V'Shafti B'Shalom, the two levels of Shalom, you'll be Zeichet too. You're saying that when we're going to receive this revelation, it's going to be
whatever we had till now, even the level of Havaya is going to be like Elikim. So basically, it says in the Kitzer that in short, we have to start by explaining that the level of Yaakov is Yud Okev. He's taking the 7 midas of Atzilus and he's bringing down into Charan, and this is through taking the stones, which is we explained that stones that's the way you build things. This is the oisius of Malchus, which is Malubish and Demi Tzameach Chai, and you're making one stone, you're bringing it down into Chochmei Ilah, and this is what it means that he took the stones, which means that he was Mamshech the Yud into the Vav, which this is the level of bringing down into Torah, and he poured oil on it, and this is what it means that just like they experienced Chochmei Ilah in the times of Mantera, they experienced that as well, and through that v'shevati b'shalom beis Avi, we said beis Avi refers to Yitzchak Yata Avinu, that the true Tainug is only going to be through Skafia v'Sapcha, and the revelation is going to be when Mashiach comes, and this is the Avoda of Charan, that you're taking the Ches and you're making into the Hay, into the Rina. And that's the 2 levels of Shalom L'Rochek, the level of Baal Tshuva, which is Mamata L'Maila, and then you have the level of L'Maila L'Mata. Okay, have a good day.